Welcome to the Champion Breakdown,
where we highlight the gold nuggets, the tips and tricks to help you become the best version of yourself in your journey to becoming a champion. Okay, you guys, we got the Champion Breakdown. Can't wait to talk about the Torah breakdown with you guys. Obviously, she's my sister, but I love her story and I know it inside and out. And it's why we wanted her on the podcast, because there's so many good tips and tricks for you guys. Gosh, the beginning. That's kind of
I just love how I just love how there's so many parallels in your guys' story as there are for Julia and I. And I know that we probably talked a little bit more about this on our first episode, but if you guys didn't listen to that, just to give you a little kind of recap to that, is that Roe is also the older sister. I am the older sister. And Torah was trying to follow in Roe's footsteps. So same like Julia. And they both obviously surpassed us, but we actually love them no matter what. And we've been their biggest cheerleaders. But I just thought that story was so great about her and how she even got into snowboarding and how she like kind of didn't even really care that much if you guys couldn't afford more than just the cross country skis. She was just grateful no matter what. Like, how amazing is she?
Yeah, so amazing. She is so grateful still and so humble still. And I think it's such a good lesson for all of us it's like when you have that grateful heart forever and you see the good instead of complain about the bad. Like, she could have been a whiny, bratty little kid being like, it's so unfair. Rowena gets everything. How come she gets the ski team and I don't? But instead she's like, it's okay. I think I can be good at cross country skiing. It's cheaper. And look what happened to her life. I mean, if you're going to compare to mine, I mean,
well, it just goes back to the whole thing that we talk about, is that when you can be grateful for things, then more good things come to you. And so even when you are feeling like maybe you don't have a lot to be grateful for, find something to be grateful for, because if you want more good things to come in your life, you have to find gratitude in something at that point. And so that's exactly what happened to her. She just was like, it's okay, I'll cross country ski. She was grateful that she even got to do that. And then snowboarding just kind of came into her life, and not even at that young of an age. I know this is also something that we love when we hear these stories from these athletes, because it is so refreshing to hear, like, you don't have to start at such a young age to be good at what you're doing, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's my most mind-blowing lesson I hear every time from these athletes. Yeah, they weren't 3 on a snowboard. There's a chance, you guys, for anyone. I love that, because I remember everything just kind of happening so fast for Torah too, like winning little competitions, getting little sponsorships, things getting sent in the mail, and always just, it was literally that kind of like, we talk about super attractor a lot, but that's what it was. It was like gratitude, and then things just happened and came.
It's so good. Your mom was so good at teaching you guys all of these things. And that's what I love about hearing from these athletes for this podcast, because they can hear these things that, it might sometimes feel kind of natural. And I feel like it's the same way for me, because our mom was very similar in that, teaching us affirmations and gratitude and stuff. But it's so nice to be able to have this platform so we can show you guys how important that actually is, because you might not have somebody in your life that's teaching you those things, and maybe you do, but it's just but even then it's like, okay, this is just reinforcement of how important it is,
Mm-hmm. And I think you were kind of the same when we were both little. We maybe didn't trust our mums as much with it all. I mean, they've never raised an Olympic champion before, but now they have. So we're like, oh, okay, yeah, you were right.
Well, actually, yeah, because when my mom started learning this stuff to teach us when I was a little bit older, and Julia was just at such a impressionable age, and she really took to it. And I'll tell you guys, she was doing the visualization, the affirmation, all of those things way more and earlier on than I was. And like Roe said, like, I kind of was like, oh yeah, I didn't really get it. And Julia, just at a young age. And I think that's what you're saying about Torah too. She was just like, oh, okay, I'll do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think we talk about, I don't think Torah talked about this as much in the episode, but because she's my sister, I know her life, and she never really focuses on the bad things that happened to her. She's had a lot. And what I think is one of her true gifts too is she just like kind of loves and releases really quickly. She doesn't dwell on stuff for too long. She gets mad. Like, we're not saying hold your emotions in, like get mad, get it out, and then just move on. And I've watched her do that so well. Like, me being her older sister, I think I get more mad than she does about stuff. Like the first Olympics where she 100% should have been on the podium. I mean, that was hard for me to see that taken from her after all the hard work. She just like brushed it off and channeled that whatever little bit of pain. Again, we talk about pain into purpose. She just was on fire after that, like forever. She didn't let anything that seemed unjust get her down. And that is such a good lesson for me. And if you guys can have that as a habit in your life, like it's a habit for hers that I see, like it's so freeing, like so freeing.
And that's such an amazing quality to have, because how easy is it when something like that happens? Like, can you guys imagine listening? Can you guys just imagine like you were outperforming everybody else in the competition, but you didn't get rewarded for it because the judges just simply weren't used to seeing those kind of tricks. So instead of giving you the medal that you deserved, they just basically were like, okay, you're just not going to get anything or you're going to get a low score because we don't even know how to score that trick. And there's two paths that you could literally go down. That literally could have been the end of her career, because she could have just dwelled on it and, just felt sorry for herself and just been mad at the world. Or what she did was even better, is use that as fuel and use that to show people and prove people that actually she does deserve the medal, and go out there 4 years later and win a gold medal. Like, that is amazing to be able to make that decision to harness that kind of power into something great. And you can even practice that with little things. When something really little happens to you, like maybe, I don't know, like maybe you forget your lunch before you go to school or something, and you can sit there and be super mad about it. Or you can start teaching yourself and training your brain to just be like, okay, well, I will never forget my lunch again, or whatever. Like, obviously that's a silly little example, but just practicing that, because that's such a great thing to be able to do as a person, even in life in general, when you're older.
Yeah. I think that is something my mom was really good at, training us when we were young, truthfully, to just, it's like, see the good in everything bad. Like, just whether it's true or not, choose to believe that this happened for a reason. You might not know the reason now, but it will, become clear later. And just choose that whatever is happening to you is for your good. I remember her teaching us that. And I feel like Torah really has lived that so well. And I think, moving forward to the 2010 Olympics, where she actually did win the gold medal, I mean, so many things could have gone wrong. It's so easy in that kind of sport not to win. It's not like a running race or a swimming race where you're just like the best. And, if you're healthy on that day, you win. And I look back at that, I'm like, I can't believe she actually did it. Like, all the things that had to come into play. But I do think it's that whole, like, whatever you want to say, universe, higher source, just like working to reward the people that live in this like love, gratitude, harmony. It's karma. It's the universe has your back, guys. Be good, do good.
And that's why also you'll hear so many times people talk about that it's not about the outcome, it's about the person you become during the process. And so even for my kids, like, and I think this happens to all kids. I remember this happened to me as a kid. There's a point where you don't want to keep doing your sport because it gets hard, or you're not winning anything anymore and you used to, or you've never won anything and you want to quit. And I tell my kids all the time this, because this is truly what I believe. I'm not trying to parent them to become the best in the world. Of course, if that's what they want and that's what happens, awesome. But what I really love sports for, and why I say you just keep going or find another sport or whatever, is because it's the person that you're becoming along the way. Because you have to go through these times that are really hard and come out on the other side of them. And that person that you become in that process is something that you just can't teach. So if you guys are ever wondering why your parents are like, oh, you can't quit, it's not because they're putting pressure on you to be the best in the world. It really is because they realize that the process that you're becoming, that is why they're doing it, is because it is something that I can tell you, being not just a parent, but just in the business world and I'm also a doctor, in all the worlds that I live in, I see people that do really in whatever it is, it's a lot of times because they were athletes. And it doesn't mean they had to be the best, but they went through that process of being let down, of losing, of all those things. So just remember that and know that's hard. It's hard when you when you're in the moment, but just remember that you are becoming the person you're meant to be by sticking to it.
Yes. And champions are definitely, they go out and they compete to best themselves more than they do to best others anyway. It's literally about you. One thing before we finish with Torah that she has taught me as I've watched her grow up and be the champion she is so good at living in joy, finding the fun. And she talked about those tips to you guys all. Do you remember some of the tips, April? She's got the Mary Poppins quote. I love that one.
Oh my gosh, her Mary Poppins quote. I love that. Oh, I have to look it up I did. I love it. She's so good.
With every job that must be done, there's always an element of fun. Find the fun and snap the job's a game. So she's not saying life is not about hard work. Like, you got to work hard. You got to sacrifice we talk a lot about mindset. It's not just mindset tips and tricks. It's the hard work, but the mindset tips and tricks that we're giving you guys is going to help you get through the hard times. It's all literally up here. That's what I loved about that quote and how she's lived. And she teaches me every day, how to bring the fun.
Oh, I love her. Well, thank you guys for listening to the Torah Breakdown. We will see you next Monday, and we're super excited to bring you our next champion. See you then.